Happy Friday. It is January 19th, 2024. This is session two. Hey, well, made it past 1 year. There you go. With me tonight is Michael from Toy Habits. And I would have his, sampled his thing if I could figure out how to sample. But you know what? I can only do so much in a given day.
Too
How you
much to
doing
ask.
tonight, Michael?
I am great. It's great to be on with you, and thanks so much for having me. I can't wait to talk about the stuff that we all love.
Exactly. Get to talk about toys.
Yes,
This is supposed to be
whenever,
fun. This is the fun stuff.
yeah,
This is the good
whenever
stuff.
we get to do this, right?
Exactly, right? So my show is a little different. It's more about kind of your history with toys, history with collecting. It's about what you find joy in, what makes you happy. Um, and really, at the end of the day, it's just about trying to find that daily joy. So
Yes.
we're going to start off with kind of figuring out where Michael stands in this.
Oh boy.
It's Don McMillan, the comedian. It is his list, and it is the Geek Nerd Dork
Oh
version of the
boy.
Myers-Briggs chart. So we're going to go over this, and then we're going to see where you stand.
I
So
love it.
now, if you have a high IQ and you're
Okay.
socially awkward, you're generally considered the dork. I'm not sure where a whale penis fits into that, but okay, whatever. If you have a high IQ and you have an obsession, you're considered a geek.
Okay.
Okay. I'm buying that one. If you have an obsession and you're socially awkward, you're generally a stalker.
Interesting.
Now, if you have all three, you are now in the nerd category.
Wow.
So
Okay.
here's the thing: to
Yes.
move from a geek to a nerd, all you have to do is find an obsession.
Okay.
To move from a stalker to a nerd, all you have to do is lower your IQ or higher your IQ. So you got to read, and all you got to do from go from dork to nerd is find that obsession again. So geek, you have to actually become socially awkward.
Okay.
So you got to decide where you fit on that spectrum.
Huh. Well, I'm definitely obsessed. So I do have that obsession. Uh,
You'd be
I
surprised how many people could verify that they're stalkers.
I know. I was like, I think I might fit in the stalker
I'm
category.
gonna I'm gonna do my best, Kermit. That's none of my business.
Let's see. Yeah, I definitely have an obsession. I wouldn't say I have a high IQ. Um, I'm not. I don't think I'm typically socially awkward. I do well in public and gatherings and things like this. So yeah, lower IQ, big obsession. Not so much socially awkward.
So we could say you're above average, right? So let's go with geek. We'll go with geek. We'll be safe in that
Okay.
category of geek.
That's good. As long as I stay out of the stalker category, I'm good.
Yeah, I think you're safer in that category, honestly.
Yeah. It's so funny. I've never seen that before. I've taken like every Myers-Briggs iteration except for that one.
It's the unofficial.
I love it. I love it.
It's called somebody has too much time on their hands and decides to do something different. So
That's great.
before we get into everything, I just
Yes.
want to go over. Did you get anything this week?
Ah. I did. I did. Um, yeah, today was a special day because I gave myself an excuse to drive into work. So I work in San Francisco. I work for the company LinkedIn, and in San Francisco there is a Super 7 flagship store down there, which I like to go to just to see what they have. And I was looking around for this figure for a long time. Uh, was a newer obsession of mine, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and of course, from the Motu TMNT crossover, right? I was like, okay, I gotta start learning about this because I didn't really watch it as a
Yeah.
kid. So I'm starting to watch the cartoons and some of the movies, and I was like, it's actually pretty fun. So I was looking for a glow in the dark Slash. Don't ask me why. I just wanted a glow in the dark figure, and I just couldn't find one anywhere. They're sold out everywhere. And I just happened to call a couple days ago and just randomly asked him, like, "Do you happen to have one in the store?" He was like, "Oh, let me look." He's like, "Oh, I have one." Like, well, this is our last one. I was like, "Wow." So yeah, this is
Nice.
what I picked up
At
today.
least it glows in the dark real well. I mean, it'll definitely be a glowy thing, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm actually excited because he said that these glow pretty, like they have a cool effect under black light, and so I'm gonna be moving spaces and like basically finishing off the third car garage and kind of moving down in that space, and so it'll be a similar background, but I'll be in a like totally isolated space, and I can kind of make it how I want with the shelves and everything. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
You
I
get
was
to do a
excited
full
about this guy.
customization job. That's what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, I was excited about this guy because, yeah, I mean, he looks cool. I'm actually excited for uh, the Motu Origins TMNT crossover Slacker,
Yeah.
and so I was like, I gotta get this guy.
Slaker, wasn't it?
Slaker,
Slaker.
yes.
Yeah.
Slacker, yeah, it's not Strickland. Slacker.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, my
um,
pickups
ooh, I
were
love
my
it.
Force tunnel rat, and I got two of the wolf spiders because one's going to be a custom.
Oh,
And
nice.
of course, Lawrence in the chat will be giving me crap for getting more than what I needed because that's
He
what he
did.
does.
Yes, yes, totally. It's funny. He dropped a comment and said, "I'm the good Larry." if you
Yeah, exactly.
if you recall. Um, let's see. Does he said the Super 7 charge you to
Go
just
in the
walk
door.
through the no. No,
The
they
cover
don't.
charge.
But I did get a chance to meet Brian Flynn. Saw him in the wild at an antique show that happens every month in Alameda. So that was the first time that happened, and I told Brian, I was like, the guys who run the Super 7 store in San Francisco are amazing. Like, they are cool. They're fans
Yeah.
like everyone else, and you get to geek out when you're in the store too.
And my other thing that I got
Oh,
is my
nice.
Mythic Legions Vorgus Vermilius II.
That's cool.
Terrence St. John, one of the people in the community, he had gone to Legions Con and had basically got extras for everybody. So it seems like
Oh,
because
nice.
I managed to get all of my extras from him. So,
That's awesome.
get any other pickups?
Yes, let's see. Yes. One that I opened, which you might see on the website tomorrow, is
Ram Man. I
mutated
do
Ram
like
Man.
the legs on that, and I like the armor.
Yes.
It's definitely tempting to take those off and do
I was
custom.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I can't do customs to save my life, so it's like I have so much respect for people who can make stuff, like who can think creatively and make something from just a stock thing, and you're like, "Oh, I could turn this into something." Like that part of my brain does not work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was funny. I was taking pictures and importing them into Photoshop, and I accidentally like messed with the saturation slider, and it caused a really cool effect to like, change the colors or whatever. So I just
Mhm.
put together like a 1 minute video of like I had poor well, this is just a Ram Man because I'd ripped off his arms and swapped him out.
Yeah.
But I was kind of doing a little scene where he fell into the slime pit and started to change.
Oh, cool.
I set
See,
it to
sometimes we'd call that a happy accident, right?
yes, exactly. I so I made a little video out of it, just doing like screen recordings of me just sliding the thing back and forth, and you can see him change. And I set it to the song "Monster" by Imagine Dragons. It's fun. That was a good
Nice.
one. So with that came Beast Man, which I haven't,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
and Raphael from Wave 2. Of course, I got to say I got these on eBay. So, um,
Mm,
yes, I will be saying that tomorrow too on the
yeah,
website.
they were retrieved from eBay. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
um,
going to check in with the chat real quick and then
yeah.
we will go on into the rest of it. So, obviously, we've talked about Lawrence. I don't know why you must wait for me, Lawrence. It's okay if you have to go. We know. We know. And Eldor is giving us a not supercharged chat, but he's saying that it's supercharged chat. He may have put it on yours. I don't know. So, Let's see. Nolan is here. Hey, Nolan, how you doing? Carol is here. This is Carol, guys. This is Oz's sister.
Oh, cool.
In case you
I did
didn't know
not know
that,
Oz had a sister.
he does.
That's great.
Fatrid
Well,
Foo is here. What's up, Fatrid? And Studio Hinge Kenton is here. Hello. And that's everybody.
yes.
I think we've. Oh.
Oh,
I see that now. I see I'm off the hook. I got it. Yep. Uh-huh. See what happens? So
yeah. It's okay then, right?
it's okay now.
Hmm.
Hey, it's my name twin. What's up? So one of the things that we kind of forget to do as adults is we kind of forget to play. It's one of the things that I focus on, and I use my toys as a way to be in that playful mind because people that are playful actually live longer. Did you know that?
Did
There's
not know
actually
that.
longitudinal studies that people that do more play or have more playful personalities, they tend to live longer. So it's one of
I
those
like
things that
that.
I kind of made a conscious choice. I could either get angry about everything or I can choose to be different about it. So one of the things that I want to do is I'm going to define what a play state is. And then I kind of want you to think about that the last time that you played. So a play state is a state of mind where one's absorbed in an activity that provides enjoyment, mind you. It has to be it has to provide enjoyment,
Okay.
and it allows a suspension of a sense of time. In psychology, we would call that flow.
Yes.
We might also call that the optimal experience, Zen, whatever you want to call it, whatever makes you feel better about it. So, when was the last time that you can recall that you played?
uh, Geez, I think up until today, it would have been a very, very actually, no, that's not true. I would say sometimes when I do unboxing and reviews, I'll play with the figure just to see what it's like. I haven't done anything like really kooky in a long time. I used to have a TikTok channel that I would just do like stop motion. Uh,
Mm,
Stop motion animations, set them to music. So I would say probably in like 2021 was the last time that I just like really sat down and played, and it was with it was do you know the Mask toy line, Mobile Armor
hmm
Strike Command?
yeah.
Um, so I would take a Hondo's truck, and
Okay.
it got the spring,
Yeah.
it could shoot, the tire or the Rhino because the grill pushed out and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I'd basically like, sit all the Mask figures on the truck and then like push the button and they'd all pop off, and I would I
So
would
it was
click the
Michael's version of 52 pickup, is what you're saying.
yeah, exactly. It's 52 action figure pickup. So I'd also like mix and match, like I'd have Mask taking on Transformers. I had a like a 2 foot tall Devastator. I think it was from the Combiner Wars, and I had him attack Boulder Hill in a stop motion. So I think if you, I haven't done TikTok in a long time, probably over a year. But if you go to TikTok, if you search toy habits, you'll see all the silly stuff that I used to do. And I don't know why I don't do that anymore, but it's fun.
Exactly. Sometimes we gotta have fun. So, when you were a kid and you played, um, did you have like structure? Was it organized? Was it disorganized? Was it all these toys couldn't play with these toys because they weren't the same kind of toys? Was it
Yeah.
all together? What were the different ways that you played as a kid?
That's interesting. So definitely the toys didn't mix, but the building toys could mix with the action figures, right? So there was like constructs, I think, back in the
Mhm.
day where you just had all these parts and you can make whatever. Of course, we had Legos, but I think I was probably a little more structured playing as a kid just because I wanted to have these huge battles. And I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? So I would set up the Joes on one part of the family room. I'd have Cobra on one side, and then I would move back and forth. It was kind of like chess. Uh,
Mm.
Cobra would lob a missile over, it hit something and blow up, and the Joes would retaliate, stuff like that. So, um, yeah,
So do you remember how that play as a child, how did that make you feel?
it was fun because that was the only time where you were not. I mean, as a kid, you shouldn't have to like worry about stuff, but that was the only really the only thing that you thought about, right? There wasn't,
Mm.
kids to think about, college tuition to pay for, all this other stuff. And so you could just play and use your imagination. The funny thing with my toys when I was growing up was I always had them like neatly organized. I had a separate twin bed that I would like display stuff on. I remember having my whole mask collection on the twin bed, and I was so like I would just look at it and be like, "Wow, this is cool."
So you've always been the person that kind of displayed it. So
Yeah.
now that you kind of had identified that feeling, when was the last time that you felt that way kind of as an adult?
Let's see. Looking around, so I'm actually really glad that you can only see this part of my room because the everything is a disaster in here. So,
Oh, you can't see what's to the left or to the right of me currently. That's probably a good thing
and, and do I
because
do
there's
I
a dog
dare take
with about 15 figures or so in their boxes still to be opened.
the webcam off and show everybody? But no, there's action figure fodder, packaging, there's parts everywhere. And I don't even do customizing, so I have no excuse for myself. But I think the last time that I remember this room being like organized and I could actually walk in it and around stuff was probably about 6 months ago. So I've decided since I'm moving, and this is my rationalization, right? Because we
Yep.
got to
Yeah, we,
rationalize.
we we get to those, right?
Yes,
This
I'm
is
gonna
this
be
is the
moving.
rationalization for buying
Yes.
two figures for me. I'm probably going to do a custom with it. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I like that. It's better than my excuse, but yeah. So since I'm relocating, I'm like, you know what? Screw the room. I'm gonna let it go to hell. I'll deal with it later when I move stuff out of here. Um, so
You'll deal with the chaos when it's time to deal with the chaos, is what you're saying.
yes, I'm just living amongst the chaos right
There they go, and it happens. It happens to the
now.
best of us. So, how do you play now as an adult versus how you played as a kid? Still very similar, different?
I would say the organization is very similar. I obviously I have more things because I wasn't relying on my parents, 6-year-old Michael screaming on throwing a tantrum on the floor. I need this Devastator gift set.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I remember having a tantrum about, nothing else. So from that part, yes. The playing around, I would say if I dedicated some time to do it, I think I would probably play the same. Like I do like kooky stuff on uh sometimes the kookiness will creep into the YouTube reviews. Like I did like the Mechanic Masterverse review, and I was like, okay, what if I um, throw in some like taxi driver humor into this? And I
Yeah.
was like, did a little stop motion, and but I wod say it's probably it's not it's more like business than playing, unfortunately.
So does that kind of take the fun out of it sometimes when it's more business than when it's play?
It does, yeah, of course it does, yes. I've always had I don't know, not a habit, but I think every time that I've tried to collect something, it turns into something else. So I remember even when I was a kid, I started work at 11. I worked at the local bowling alley that was in town because I was there all the time. I bowled from age 9 to 18. Then I But yeah, I would collect baseball cards, right? So I would open the cards. I'd be like, "Ooh, this is a good one." I'd run right down to the baseball card shop and turn that into money and buy some more stuff. So there's
Yeah.
always been that
That
cyclical thing.
cycle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I don't think I've ever fallen out of that cycle with anything. Um, but yeah. So
So when you were playing as a kid, who won the most battles, the good guys or the bad guys?
that's a good question. I don't think I kept track. I think the battles. Oh yeah, so it was it was Mask and GI Joe that I would have the most like fun with because this they were just fun toys to mess around with, and I miss that like clicking of things. You know, it's like you push something and it goes ka-chunk or
Yeah, exactly.
so yeah. I think for Mask, it was Venom, most definitely, because they just had the cool stuff. You know, you
They
had
did. They did
Floyd.
have the cooler vehicles, that's for sure.
You had Floyd with his motorcycle that turned into a little red jet, and uh, yeah, I think the Joes were coming out on top in the other battles. So I wasn't into army building back then, so I couldn't have a huge.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
dad
we'll
never.
cover the army building here in a minute. So your childhood toy lines. You've mentioned Mask, you mentioned Joe. Any other childhood toy lines?
Yes, Transformers, He-Man, of course. Um, I think those are the Thundercats. Trying to remember to the holidays, like us just opening stuff. Yeah, Star Wars for sure. I remember just I would spend summers in New Jersey, and my grandfather would, he basically had the same routine. We would wake up, go bowling. I would help my grandmother shop at ShopRite. This was on the East Coast.
Yeah.
We kind of rinse and repeat the day. As a 7-year-old, I was allowed to like wander the beach, wander the streets of, the Ventnor is the city outside of Atlantic City in New Jersey. So I would just roam around Ventnor, and it's weird because I wouldn't we don't let our kids go anywhere anymore.
Yeah, no, we're in a different world, unfortunately.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, so trying to think of any other, oh, the GoBots was big. Um, yeah, so I've had a lot of.
GoBots is underrated. It really is.
Oh, it totally is. I remember having some pretty mean battles with the GoBots. That was fun because like I never treated them as like knockoff Transformers or whatever. I just loved them for what they were, and they were so simple. Like I love the simplicity of them. You pull it apart
Yeah,
and boom, you have a
exactly.
robot.
Well, and they were more in scale than Transformers ever were.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I like that the scale part of it is good. I
yeah.
like that.
So, are there any toys from your childhood that you don't have currently in your collection that you would still want?
Ooh, yes. So I guess I've had these things and bought them and sold them quite a few times over the last 20 years, but I currently would love to have back the Wolverine from GI Joe. I like that one a lot. That was I think the Joes won the most battles because I think I had the most rockets on.
Yeah, I did. But the problem is once all the rockets were shot, what is she going to do then? That
Yeah,
wasn't a
exactly.
well-thinking logistic. There should have been like a gun somewhere on that vehicle. It just
Yeah.
because she didn't come with one, so
No. No.
she
Um,
just going to be sitting duck, is what I like to call that.
that's funny.
So Happy has a question for you. Are you getting the red gull wing from ramen?
What is up, Mr. Happy Accident? He's a cool dude. I have two of them actually. So yes, I am all in their Machina line, which I love. So I love that that Ramen is also making stuff that should have come out, like Gloria Baker's um what is it?
Well, I'm
The
looking forward to that three-way bridge layer tank.
Yes, That's pretty
It's
cool.
Allison. She said
Uh,
hi.
oh, that's so sweet.
She's here causing trouble. That's what she does. What's up,
This sad
Ed?
fault. Love that.
Skydro, just saying hi to some people that checked in.
Yeah.
So, what we're going to do, since we've kind of discussed childhood lines, now there is something I want to talk about during this little presentation that we have for your current collection that you had, but I noticed something was conspicuously absent, and we'll cover it
Okay.
as we go through it. So this is vintage. Looks like there's some pursuit of or not pursuit of cover, spy troops or
Yep.
a
Yeah. Yep.
little bit of everything during
Yep.
that
Yep.
period, because I know that helicopter is the Crimson copter. I know that one.
Yeah.
I've seen it before.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a cool looking toy. Okay, that's a lot of army building.
It is.
There's some Black Major stuff in there, right?
No, this is all
No.
it's all store bought or yeah.
Oh, okay.
There are no
I was
customs in
thinking
here.
there's ones on the right, far right, where the
No,
Black
those
Major.
I think they came out in the Spy Troops line. They were packed with some other, I don't know, random Joe. So you had to buy like
Yeah.
one
Had to
of
buy
them.
Random Joes to get that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the middle tier, the Cobra Troopers, those were Toys R Us exclusive 6-packs, and I would just drive all over Creation to find those because I was like, I need more Cobra Troops.
Mhm.
So yeah,
You can never
I
have enough troops, though. Let's be honest.
no.
We want Cobra to be menacing and intimidating, right? We don't want
Yeah,
them to be. Uh, we don't want them to be like they have the same number of people that Joe does. I mean, it's really at that point, it's really not really much of a battle. It's the same.
yeah, yeah.
So, oop, wrong direction. Okay, let's go the right direction. Some more of
That
this, and there's some bats, and you got your Stinger driver,
yep.
and some more
I just made him
troopers.
I made him a drill sergeant or something in my head.
It's always interesting what we do in headcanon. Now, this is your Python Patrol grouping,
Yep.
I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's kind of sparse.
Yeah,
Being,
those I wish I still had the Python Patrol. I forget what the actual figure is called, but it's a overseas exclusive. I totally forget where it's from, but I was really into collecting the the UK Tiger Force or the Euro exclusive figures.
hmm
And just looking back, so it's probably in like 2005 maybe is from, these pictures. And yeah, I remember thinking, geez, $25 for a complete nice Night Force figure back then. Now
hmm
I'm like kicking myself going, whoa.
Uh,
That's yes, Ken is dead on. Yeah, thank you, Ken. Yes, the Brazilian. Yeah. Yes, that is
yeah.
Relampa. Yep. I think it's Relampago or something like that. Or anyway.
If he's spelling it right, it's from Poggle. I know. That's a okay. I'm gonna go with whatever Ken says on that one.
Yeah.
That one's a
I
little bit
think
much.
that oh yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so there was one shelf of Transformers. Obviously, you got Optimus, you got Megatron, you
Yeah.
got
That's the top shelf, the tippy top behind me, which sometimes shows it, sometimes doesn't, but
it's interesting. You have Shockwave and Sound Blaster and Perceptor.
mhm.
Perceptor was one of the ones that I did have as a kid. Shockwave is one I had. I never got an Optimus. It's a funny story about Optimus. I asked my grandmother for an Optimus Prime for Christmas. I got sweatpants.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh.
My cousin got the Optimus Prime and he didn't want it.
Oh, what? In what
That's how my stuff worked with my grandma.
in what
It was kind of
sick
like
and
this.
twisted universe is this?
Yeah, exactly. No, that was my
Uh,
grandma to a
so
T.
The ones that mean the most to me back there are Blaster and Perceptor, because my grandfather bought me those, and so
So
like
those are childhood toys that made it through to adulthood, huh?
I have a few. I don't have many, but I try to buy every iteration of like Perceptor or Blaster through the years, just because I have such good memories of just
Mhm.
that brings me back, to as a kid on the East Coast. I could pretty much do and go wherever I please. It was a fun
Well,
time.
those are touchstone toys. Those are things
Yeah,
that are, meaningful because of their connection to
most
childhood.
definitely.
Now, I was unclear. Are these vintage
Yes.
carded on the wall? Okay.
No, they're vintage figures in what I think they're called Zolo cases or something
Yeah,
like
the
that. Yeah,
Zolo World cases, but they're
yeah, Zolo World.
I would
Yeah,
consider that close to carded because you have some of the ones with you have the mini comics behind them. So only
yes,
thing you're missing is the card. But
yes. Like I think I
see,
might.
now I see the classified shelf because it was just
Yeah,
like hidden. It was
that's funny.
hidden. It was hidden.
Yeah, it's funny because like this is my display as you're seeing it now live. This was I forget when I took those pictures. But yeah, things move around the room as time goes on. So yeah, the classified section is in a pile at the moment. Sorry, Lawrence. But it's not because I don't like them. I'm just I gotta bag everything up and move everything down at some point
Yeah.
when the room we haven't even started the room yet. So this is gonna be I'm gonna live in a disaster for another few months.
Happy has another
Oh,
question about your Jetfire. Does it have the Macross insignia on the right wing?
that's a good question. I'm not gonna get it, but I will check to see if it does. I had no idea that that was a thing, so that's great. Yeah, there's something else I learned too. Like I didn't know that there was like a striped-tailed battle cat, and that was rare until like the toy hunter hollow Rod, he was like, guess what I found today in a box of battle cats. He was like, whoa.
Yeah, it's always all of those like little variations. It's always interesting.
Yeah.
Now, this looked like Lords of Power and
Hmm.
the Gray Skull thing that came with
Yeah.
wasn't that like an exclusive thing? And some
Yeah.
Horde Troopers.
Yeah. Those were a PowerCon 2021, which was the only PowerCon that I went to. And I think I'd driven. Oh yeah, I was gonna drive down because I was like, oh, they're gonna, basically give you all the stuff that you ordered. But back then, they just sat on the ship for a long time and charge you an arm and a leg to get them to you.
You know what? They did that with the Formo toys. Those that the shipping on those Formos were supposed to be like $90.
Yes, that
I was like,
definitely. Ugh.
when I saw that, I was like, nah, I don't need them. Don't want them. Don't need them. I'll pass.
Uh,
Oz has a question about your Stinkor. Does it
okay.
still
Well,
smell like patchouli?
this I can grab because I'm not gonna create another disaster. It's funny when I left the room like 20 minutes ago, I heard stuff makes a nosedive, and you know that sound, right? Of just
Oh yeah,
ching.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, something
The
like
worst sound is when it happens in the middle of the night.
oh, I do have a horror story to share with you from when something came crashing down. Nobody got hurt, um, but my soul because I was crying because it took me a long time. Oh yeah, it does. Oh my gosh, wow, totally does. All right, yeah, the like you know this like the scents, the smells take you
Mm-hmm.
back too, right? Wow, thank you, Oz, for the
The
for the blast
patchouli
from the
and then your pine for Mr. Moss Man.
past. Yes, the stench of evil mini comic.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yes.
I bought somebody's collection. That's so typically I don't buy one-off figures. I always from when I started collecting, I just collected other people's collections, and the figures that I didn't want, I would, sell back on eBay. And I just kept doing it, and just, over time, it becomes pretty unwieldy. So yes, I
Yeah.
cry too. Oh, this
So
was
this
a
is kind
fun.
of a mix of what here? I was confused a little bit because I'm not
These are all
classics.
Masters of the Universe Classics figures. So
Okay,
the mix is I guess the factions, if you will, are
gotcha.
mixed
Okay.
in there. Yeah. But yeah, they're all Masters figures, and I just decided, oh, I just want to create a big battle scene on my on my shelf, and so I did it. Like,
There's nothing wrong with it because I do, I build dioramas to put on my shelves so that I have battle scenes for all of my stuff.
that's cool. Yeah. I
This
was
is
trying
just
to
a
figure
close
out
up of that last one.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to repurpose the boxes. Like, the boxes were way cool for the PowerCon
Yeah,
stuff, but I was like,
yeah.
I'll just shove all the horde in there and call it good.
Eh, Whatever works. I mean, sometimes the packaging is just as good as everything else. So,
Yeah, that's true.
and this is more classics, and then
Yeah, just a different angle. Yeah, classic. So you're gonna learn. Um, I have had many regrettable selling experiences with my stuff, and I repeat a pattern. I've
okay,
collected yeah, I've collected G1 Transformers probably 4 or 5 times over the last 20 years. Same with Star Wars. Um, G.I. Joe stuck. So I say I have like a love-hate relationship with Transformers, Star Wars. I currently am in love with Star Wars right now, but who
yeah.
knows? That might change.
It's the nature of it. Sometimes we get rid of it when it doesn't make us happy anymore.
That's
And this
you
is
know what?
that.
That's exactly how I was like, you know what? These things are not making me happy. They must go.
Yeah, and then it's an okay thing to do.
Yeah.
Now that's the exclusive, right? Faker
Yes.
and Battle Cat or
Yeah,
Faker.
same, yeah, PowerCon 2021 they had a lot of stuff for exclusives.
Now, is this a classics Wind Raider or is this the
That's the
Origins
Origins
Wind Raider?
one. Yeah, it's perched up
Okay.
on the Castle Grayskull. So when I do my displays, I have to figure out a place for all the variant figures. Like, there's 10 billion He-Mans, there's 10 billion Skeletors. So
Yeah,
I put Prince Adam up there. I put like Battle Armor He-Man in Castle Grayskull, and then I put, I don't have any repeats on the shelf unless they're army builders.
yeah. Well, I mean, you got to do something now. Okay, what's the one here? I've never seen this one with the space helmet.
Yes, so that one was it the heck did that one? That also came from PowerCon 2021. Was it the I forget if it was packed in with the Mysteries of Grayskull pack with that tentacle
Yeah,
monster
the
coming out
tentacle.
of the
Yeah,
grate. I think it might have been packed with that one. So yeah, that's basically the in the vintage Castle Grayskull, it had a
yeah, the
cardboard.
sticker.
Yeah, they had
Yeah.
a cardboard cutout of that robot, and so they finally made it into an action figure, and I was like, sweet.
Okay. I was told Mysteries of Gray Skull Suit of Armor. Gotcha. Okay, I had never seen it, so
Oh yeah.
I wasn't collecting at that point. So, and this is kind of interesting. You have like a Masterverse behind the what looks like a vintage.
Yeah, so those sometimes I like to pair the vintage figures with their, I don't know, updated counterparts. So behind there are there's still a Masters of the Universe Classics figures.
Yeah,
And so what I made a first 8 shelf. That's basically the first 8
yeah.
figures that Masters produced, and that's on the card back, and I was like, okay. So I one day I was like, well, let me get a little variety in here. So I'd change it up that way.
Well, it's an interesting thing. I mean, you kind of get a current iteration versus an old iteration, and it's one way to display them both.
Yeah.
There's your
Oh boy.
Mega Constructs down here in the corner.
Yes. Oh, I can
my fingers hurt just looking at it. I'm telling you right
well,
now.
Would you like to hear my horror story now? 'Cause
Yes, I do want to hear the horror story because I.
so I like Mega Constructs. Actually, Mega Constructs got me back into like Masters of the Universe, so I like it for that. I spent I think 20 hours putting that Castle Grayskull together. When Snake Mountain came out for Mega, I was very excited. That took around the same amount of time to put together. My wife was on, I think she had gone to like some conference or something out of state, and so I also had to like watch a training video for work, and that was maybe like 15 hours. And so what I did was I just plopped myself here and built Snake Mountain while I was watching the training video for my last job. So I finished Snake Mountain, and I was like, huh, I could float a shelf and have my Mega Construct sit up high, because I'm like, I don't know where to put the Snake Mountain. If I get a 3-foot floating shelf that's pretty deep, that should hold it. So, I'm not handy at all. So I put up the shelf. I put up, some of the figures. I put up Castle Grayskull, and I'm like, cool, okay. I get Snake Mountain. Nothing's happened to it yet. I gingerly place it on the shelf, and then I see the shelf start to bend. And I'm on a step ladder. It starts going more. I saved Castle Grayskull. Snake Mountain just comes shattering down into all of its pieces on the ground. And of course, my wife hears this and she runs up, and she's like, "Is everything okay?" And I'm mortified, and I'm like, I was in shock. I could not believe it. But I was like, "Here, can you just hold Castle Grayskull for me?"
Yeah, just hold this for a second. I'll be over here.
So yeah,
The
so
worst case scenario situation is what you're saying.
yeah, moral of the story is I built Snake Mountain twice. Once on my own volition, and the other one because I had to. That was hard though, because now you don't have like because they come in bags, right? They're numbered
Yeah.
bags, and you follow the instructions. I had to basically put everything back into some order of semblance to make this thing again. And yeah, no more floating shelves for me. That's my life lesson.
Clint says Snake Mountain was way harder to build than Grayskull. So
What's up,
obviously
Clint?
you probably should have saved Snake Mountain and let
Yeah, I know. I know. I didn't
Grayskull take
have
the
a choice.
dive.
It was already gone.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
all right, this is more
There's some more
Masters of the Universe
classics.
classics.
More
Yeah, more classics.
classics.
Yeah, these ones if you go back one, it's just some of the older PowerCon exclusive ones which were cool, like
Yeah.
so these are coming out in Origins now. So Fangor, of course, Lord
Yeah.
Grasp and Terror back there are
Yeah.
slotted to come out in Origins. And I'd like the mini comic versions of the figures. Like I wish they would do all of them like that, but it seems like they're coming out in like dribs and drabs.
Yeah, they gotta keep you excited about the next wave, right?
That's true. That's true.
I do love the Cringer though.
Yeah.
I do
It's
I
cute.
do have to say I do love the Cringer.
Yeah. He's
And the
cute.
door
Yeah. So
looks
I was like, okay, we'll put the family together on the shelf. You can see I don't think I don't think I sent you pictures of my oh wait, we will get to this. Yes, I do remember now, but yeah, there we go.
this. Yeah. This was
Did
what I was like, oh,
that
okay.
surprise you?
It did a little bit.
Okay.
At least it wasn't spoons. I had, one of my first guests. He surprised me with his collection of spoons.
Okay.
But
So
it's cool. I mean, it's a
yeah,
nice representation. It's Zelda's one of those fantastic
yeah.
properties. There's only really one bad game from
Yes.
Nintendo. Now we don't want to get into 3DO and no.
New.
Uh,
Um yeah, so I enjoyed Legend of Zelda as a kid, and for some reason in 2016 I was like, I hadn't played all the games, but I'm kind of a purist in some respects where I can't play emulators. I have to play how the thing is intended. So I just started buying vintage Zelda games and just started to collect them, and I loved playing them so much that I actually bought modded systems that could show up on a flat screen TV, because the
Yeah.
game systems were made for the tube TVs, and when you hook one up to a flat screen, the pixels don't look
Yeah.
right.
It looks
So
weird.
I had to buy a $300 piece of hardware called the FrameMeister to make everything pixel perfect. That's the job that had. But I loved playing all those games, and so I have all of the Nintendo systems from '86 until today. One of my favorite game of all time is the Twilight Princess.
I was thinking it was Majora's Mask, mainly because of the other. There's a lot more statues
Ah,
of that.
yeah, Majora's Mask. I think so. Yeah, I think in the hierarchy: Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. What else? Of course, the original game. Oh, I
Hmm.
love these things.
They're
Oh,
cool.
so there's an example of a floating shelf that was smaller that did not come down. So I did something right.
It's
People
probably
ask
a
me,
weight thing more than it was anything else.
yeah, yeah. That's what I'll tell myself. Oh my gosh, the toy sorceress just popped in to say hello. What is up, partner? That's awesome. She is the best. Yeah. So everyone asked me what these are. I think Brick saw them in, I think, some corner of in the back here. He's like,
Mhm.
what are these? So these are First Four Figures is the company, and they make these really amazing limited edition polystone statues.
Yeah.
So Ganondorf is from the Twilight Princess. The guy in the middle, who's has the white face, his name is Zant. And then they made it's the one down here in the corner,
Yeah.
the replica Majora's Mask that the eyes glow and light up
Oh,
and
that's
stuff like
cool.
that. So the moon I got, so somebody made the moon. I got it from some guy in Mexico because I was like, the um Majora's Mask game was really cool, and so it had that moon in it, and I was like, oh, I can put that above my Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite.
Midna.
Yeah, Wolf Lincoln Midna. So that the stuff that we're looking at here is probably the most expensive things in the room, and it's not that I paid for them that was expensive. They've just appreciated, and I had no
Mhm.
idea when I was buying this stuff too. But like that Wolf Lincoln Midna, I think, is around like $5,000 right
Ooh.
now. So I'm like, when I do move down, I am going to be very careful with these things
Yeah,
because
the kid gloves and
yes, yes. So yeah, oh yeah. So I
I
like,
love the link on the horse. That's great.
yeah, I like that too, and I'm looking at them right now. But I think the way that I buy stuff is if I enjoy something, like the Legend of Zelda games, I like to have something to like remember it by, right? It's
Yeah.
it's a very expensive thing to do, but none of this is cheap.
And there's nothing that we do that's cheap. That's
No.
that's that's the trick with any collection. It's you tell yourself it's going to be cheap. Oh, it'll be one or two here. It'll be one or two
See,
there. We'll be fine.
it's it's the rationalization, right?
Yeah, exactly. We do a lot of rationalization.
Yeah, we do.
So most of your collection is the toys are from the big two. Is there any independent lines that have kind of piqued your interest?
Yes, ramen, most definitely. I think he's that. Ace is he's not afraid to go take toys places, and build out what fans like. He takes a lot of feedback and, iterates designs sometimes. And I think he's really building for the fans. So
Yeah.
yeah, ramen is one of them. I don't have a lot. Of course, I got to give Ken's uh, Delta 17 a plug, of
Yeah.
course, because those were freaking amazing. So yes, Delta 17. Um, it's funny. I don't buy many indie toys, which is weird because like a lot of stuff out there is very cool, but sometimes so I guess what you'll find out about me is I'm trying to not do this anymore, but I tend to be a completist. So if
Ah,
I
that'll do it.
so I think I've limited myself to these big lines because I'm like, oh, I have to get every one. So I'm trying to get myself out of that habit. And it's not a good habit. Like the toy
But
sorceress does it
I
right.
mean,
Like
there
she
is a reason you have, you have a website named Toy Habits.
That's true.
It's
That's true. But I like the way the toy sorceress collects stuff. She's not a completist. So like we're kind of the polar opposite in that respect. She'll like she'll be so happy to get one of something or two of something. I'm like, well, now that I have one of something, I need them all. And so yeah,
yeah,
same thing with these. Did I need a glow in the dark slash? No. But I was like, well, Super 7 made it. It's in the line. I must get it.
yeah. So
No.
there's that conundrum. The only thing that I'm really completist on is Joe right now, and that may change.
Okay.
It may change. Um, but I have a lot of lines that I dabble, as
Yeah.
I like to call it. I pick and choose a lot. Masterverse is a pick and choose. Like
I'm
Mechanic,
yeah.
Snout Spout, those will be definites.
Okay.
Everything else will be a ooh maybe. I got the movie Evil in my pile of loot at Big Bad Toy Store. So
Ship it.
at some point I will.
Yeah, man.
I'm waiting for my Poxus, Mythic Legions Poxus to come in.
Mythic
I've got
Legions are
4 figures on pre-order
awesome.
there for them.
So
So
the reason why I don't collect I would, but again, what did I say before? I'd
you
probably
have
have
to
to
collect it
collect them
all.
all. So I need to unlearn that. And so Masterverse is actually I'm trying with that because I'm taking a look at the stuff that's coming out and I'm like, okay, Skeletor's cool, but do I really want him? Like I'm looking at my Masters of the Universe Revelation figures and I'm like, I don't like him anymore.
Yeah, and
The new
it's
Eternia
like
stuff is good, but
yeah,
uh,
it's about
yeah,
picking and choosing. I mean,
yeah,
that's for me. Any of the ones that I don't have to have them all anymore.
yeah.
Um,
It's just something inside that is just something. Yeah, I don't know.
it's it would cause you discomfort to not have them all. I got it.
Which
I
sounds
got it.
silly. It just sounds silly, but anyway.
It. I think some of that is structure and organizational needs. So we. So you kind of touched on it that you kind of collected consistently, but has there ever been a period where there was like, Michael wasn't collecting, he was not doing the stuff, or when did it kind of start, stop, come back?
Definitely started with I would say like my first adult job. And so I got into collecting in 2001. I started a new job at eBay and I'm a researcher. So we've talked about this a little
Yeah.
bit. So my degree's in applied behavior analysis and I couldn't do the therapy part of it. And so I got introduced to this really cool line of work that was just beginning in the early 2000s called like usability or user research. One of my professors at grad school, he was like, I knew that I didn't want to go into like the helping profession, but then I was like, well, what the heck am I going to do now?
Yeah.
And so he introduced me to the field, and I fell in love with it. And so my my very first job, actually, I spent a year doing user research for Hotmail, if you can believe. No, I don't know if anyone uses that anymore, but um, so at eBay, the company was like, okay, if you want to get to know the site, you should start buying or selling stuff. And so I was like, well, what the heck am I going to buy? So I was like, huh. And for some reason, I was like, I must buy the things that I used to play with as a kid.
Mm.
And oh, I'm going to back up a little bit. Okay. So I've never lived close to work. eBay was about an hour drive there and an hour drive back from my house. There were Targets, Toys R Us's, and Walmarts along the way. And thank you. You're probably I still have my Hotmail account, so I appreciate it. At eBay, the creative director, we were in cubicles that were actually pretty big, and he had these Simpsons Playmates interactive figures in his cube. And I was like, I love the Simpsons. Those were the coolest things. And so he told me where to get them. He's like, they're just at Target. So I looked, and there was a whole like wall of Simpsons stuff that I'd never heard of. And so I was like, wow, that's really cool. So I started buying them a lot. I would stop, at every Target and Toys R Us or whatever. And um and I think I had amassed this like collection of Simpsons things. And I guess I was storing them in the guest bedroom. And my wife opens up the closet one day, and she said it looked like a toy store shelf. And she was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "These things are cool." So,
Yeah.
um, and so getting back to eBay, the eBay was like, okay, if you want to get to know the site, start buying, start selling, whatever. So I started both. I bought I was like, I need the G1 Transformer. I think the first collection that I bought was G1 Transformers. And back then, you'd pay about $3 or $4 a piece for a
Yeah.
complete figure when you buy it in a collection. So that's normally why I do it. And like, why would you want to pay $50 for one when you can get a lot of them for, you just have to do the work and make sure you sell them. So that's what started my collecting bug. So that went from Transformers to GI Joe to Mask. I've bought and sold the whole entire complete collection of Mask line 3 times over the last 20 years. I did keep it the last time. So
Oh, okay. So
and
it
I
took
finally
you 3 times to go,
yeah,
maybe I probably shouldn't sell it because I really
yeah,
do want it.
yeah, because I got to make those stupid Hondo videos where he's like, shooting
Yeah,
people with a
exactly.
tire. And so, yeah, so it's been since 2001, it's been pretty consistent. There might have been like 6 months where I wasn't having something coming in for eBay or something. I was probably doing a lot of selling back then because whatever's coming in, it's
Yeah.
got to make room for stuff that's
You gotta
going
make
out.
room for it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, All Music Fan, I totally like. I wish they would bring back Mask. I mean, I would love that. That's the reason why I bought Ace's stuff. It's like he's doing it right, and I,
Yeah.
I hope he makes more. I doubt he's going to make the entire line, but it's like Hasbro is sitting on a gold mine, right?
Yeah.
If they
Well, they're
would
sitting
just,
on a lot of IPs, let's be honest. They're
yes, yeah, and I think that's the one thing. Like Ace wants to make stuff that people like from those IPs that Hasbro is sitting on or Mattel is sitting on. It's like, why?
he just needs to make some Star Black instead of Black Star, and then we'll be good. Just change
Yes.
the name.
Yeah,
So,
there you
is there any collection rules for Michael? Does Michael have any collection rules? Is there, besides the completionist, I have to get it all? Do you have any hard and fast rules? See, like mine. Here's my
go.
rule.
Okay, give me an
This is
example.
my one. This is not movable. This is not changeable.
Mm.
Whatever I buy cannot cost any single item more than my first car.
Okay, that's a good rule.
It
I
keeps
like
me
that.
honest. And I bought my first car in '92, so I paid $550
Okay, so you have a cap of 550 on your stuff. Okay.
on a single item.
On a
Now,
single
as a
okay, single item.
whole, now if I bought a bunch of different things, like a
Okay.
collection kind of thing,
Yeah.
then it would be a different story.
Okay. Hmm. Wow. That's a great question. I don't even know if I have an answer to that. Oh, I can tell you some rules that I've broken. What is up, Chaz? Um, so okay, when I was getting into collecting, I was only collecting like the 3 3/4 inch Joes, and I was like, I'm never gonna get into the 12-inch, 6 scale figures because I'm like, those
Mhm.
are too big. I'm never gonna be a 6-inch action figure collector. But I think in like 2018, I think my taste started to change. And so I think also when I'm looking around this room, the small figures are hard to see. So I think it was more of like a visual thing for me of like, okay,
Yeah.
like I would not have bought poor little Grogu back there back when Michael was not collecting that kind of stuff. Now, the Hot Toy stuff that's a dang slippery slope that
Yeah,
I
that
need
no, that
to
I'll stay away from that.
yeah, but I haven't. But yeah, so yeah, again, like I'm not going to collect that stuff, but
Yeah. Hot
I
toys and
broke.
Mondo are slippery slopes.
Yes, 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 yes. I think I guess the only maybe hard and fast rule that I've had is like none aside from like my displays of like that first 8 Masters of the Universe display. I really just keep the lines to themselves and just make little areas for all the lines. I don't really intermix them, but it would actually be really fun to do, right? Because
Yeah.
they're freaking toys. It's like
Exactly. They're meant to be played with. And then
yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm looking
and
at
kind of in that vein of they're meant to be played with. I have a question. Now you have a little bit of mix like I do, where some stuff is in card. What determines what stays on card and what
mm,
determines whether it gets opened up and let it breathe and you play with it? What are the rules for that in that instance?
so okay. So that yeah, I actually do have a rule for that one. So if it's newer figures that kind of reference back to the old style figures. So these are not vintage Star Wars
Yeah.
uh in back in back of me here. They're the retro collection that are coming out, and I was like, "Oh, they look cool." It's like I want some form of uh nod to the stuff that I used to see at Toys R Us. And so that stuff I'm not opening, and also because it's small. So I think, oh, here we go. I think I'm actually like thinking through this now, which is funny. Looking around, it's all of the 3 3/4 inch stuff that is sitting on card. And
Yeah.
it's the newer stuff, and I open up. I like to let most of my stuff breathe. Like the stuff back here is a very small part of
Well, and
what
most of
I
those vintage Masters figures, I mean, you never know what's gonna happen with those hips and legs, so
yeah.
it's
Yeah, especially with
it's better if they're protected. Let's
oh,
be
totally,
honest.
yeah, there's this guy here, it's an original Wondar, which that's the most expensive figure in the collection, and I
Yeah,
paid quite a bit for this collection, but I knew if I ever sell that Wondar, it would basically take care of the entire
yeah,
collection.
but you won't.
No,
At least not
no,
yet, anyway.
no, I
You're
actually
gonna
have
change your
a,
mind when it doesn't bring you happiness there later.
yes, I've and so I've had so many regrettable selling experience of just like I've, I've also bought and collected and sold the Night Force GI Joe vintage figures probably 6 times over the last 20 years. And I wish, this is Michael in the past, I was like, "Dang, 25 bucks for a complete Tunnel Rat Night Force? Ugh, that's too
Yeah,
expensive." So he'll sell. So what I'm doing now is it's probably why the room is a disaster too. Is like if I'm thinking about not putting something up or displaying it, I'm putting it in like a purgatory for a couple months. If I miss it, it'll come out of the box. If I don't, then it gets sold. So I'm like trying to prevent. I'm trying to help future Michael
There you
in
go.
that case.
You're preventing future chaos, is what you're
Yeah,
saying,
exactly.
while you're currently living in the chaos. So,
Oh, geez, yeah.
six one way, half a dozen another, right? So, are there any things that you don't do with your toys currently that you would like to do more of,
Mm.
or something that you would like to learn to do?
You know what? I don't have I don't have the creativity of like to be a customizer, but I've always sat on the sidelines and enjoyed um what creative things people come up with. Like even so this is where like the whole business thing comes in too. Like I fell in I think in 2007, I started going on to forums and people were posting customs and I was like, "Holy crap, these things are amazing. They're like better than the toys that I'm seeing on the shelf." And so I made a website called actionfigurecustoms.com and I wrote about everybody and their mothers custom
Customs.
figures. And I've always loved that aspect of it, but I've never tried it. And I don't know if I'm too scared or if I just don't know what I'm doing.
I if you told me in 2022 when I started collecting again that I would customize, I would build diodes, I would laugh you out of the. So it's like anything else, you just learn, and if you're patient and you watch a lot of people doing it, just so you
Yeah.
can get an idea of how to do it, and once you figure out how to do it, the little nuanced stuff comes pretty
Okay.
easy.
Yeah. So, mad props to anyone, and also yourself too, who makes custom figures, who have the patience and just the skill. Like it takes a lot of skill too. You know, you can put a paintbrush in my hand, but it's going to look a lot different coming from you than it will from me.
Well, there are markers. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
There's
that's
paint
true.
markers.
That's true. It's funny, like the toy sorceress and I were different in that respect too. Like she's like, oh my He-Man, has some fleck of hair missing. I'm just gonna color it in. And it would never occur to me to do that. Or it's like she'll make the the Mondo Deluxe He-Man came with a really weird vintage head, right? It does not look right on the body. And toy sorcerers were like, well, if I just change the hair color, it actually looks pretty good on the figure now. So it's like, but that would never like click and occur
Yeah.
to me like to do that. So
When I do like a dry brush on something, or try to highlight some stuff, like my mole rat, his smoking the little intake is actually gray, and then on the back of his thing, the wheel is silver now. So
oh, cool.
one of my mole rats, not all of them, but I have three.
Okay.
There was a point where I was buying five of
Oh,
army
yeah.
builders,
Mm.
and I was just like, yeah, I got to stop. I
Yeah.
don't
I
have
always,
you run out of space a lot faster at five as
yeah.
than you do at three. So
Yeah.
it
Also
was a
money too. But
yeah.
I forget. It's so funny. Like I always forget that there's this thing called like the Christmas holiday season, and there's always like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth will mark down the heck out of stuff, and I forget that in between like now and the next holiday season.
Yeah.
So
Well,
um
they had bats on sale, one day
oh,
sale the other day, the regular bat for $15, and I was like, you know what? I'll use those for custom. So
there you go.
there's two in my pile of loot now. I'm like, gotta
It
stop.
was it was funny
If you
because
saw
when
if you
those
saw my pile of figures that need to be, they're still in the box, mind you. It's a good 3.5 feet, 4 feet tall,
oh wow. Okay. A
and
lot.
two deep.
Wow.
Those are the customs that I haven't. I buy figures and I plan to customize them, and then I get distracted by some other custom. Then I come back to it eventually. But it's a slow process.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this. This is a broken Cobra Commander mask with the
Oh
snake
wow. Oh,
underneath.
That's
I'm be doing
amazing.
this custom, and this is going to be
That's so
part of
cool.
a journey custom. It's basically part of going to be part of my Cobra convergence for next year.
That's really cool. That's
So
awesome. Like it's stuff like that. Like it's funny. I had a coworker who worked at eBay and he was an amazing illustrator. Like he's now like that's his career now. Like he's done Marvel, he's movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star Wars. It's like, and the what attracted me to like his style was it was kind of raw, kind of like what you were showing. It's like it's not a perfect like Cobra Commander mask. It's
yeah,
cracked and you can see the snake face underneath. Like that's the cool part of customizing that just does not click in my brain. And so for the action figure custom site, I was like, could you make me like 4 illustrations? I needed like a Darth Vader, and it's just to represent like GI Joe, Darth Vader, Star Wars, and
yeah,
some other properties. And so, but I'm like, I don't want a Darth Vader to look like a Darth Vader. I want a cracked mask. I want to see underneath. And so that just totally brought me back to that.
yeah.
Like, so cool.
So, and kind of thinking about your toy lines, what we're gonna go through your top 3 toy lines of all time and why.
Mm, okay. This is probably gonna, I don't know, it may or may not surprise people, but Mask is actually my favorite number one toy line of all time. And I think it's a mixture of what the toys did. So, I mean, it was kind of like a hybrid, GI Joe Transformer kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
Uh, the figures were tiny; they didn't take up a ton of space, and I really loved playing with those because I think it just set my imagination on fire. And I think also too, like it helps for the cartoons to actually accompany the toys too,
yeah.
because then I would just start recreating some of the scenes that I remember from the cartoon and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say mask because it's funny because like I've packed up my whole mask collection and it's not even here. It's just it's still here, but it's not displayed.
It's not displayed.
No,
Well, it
but
takes up space.
yes,
It's realty.
yeah. So I think I think I replaced them with the Thundercats Ultimates, but I'm like, was that a good decision? I don't know. Yeah. So Mask is a good one. My next one would be GI Joe, and GI Joe. I have equally good memories of playing with those toys. This is why this is why we call the Toy Habits hot tub the hot tub. I would bring the GI Joes into the hot tub and play with them, right? And so, the rubber bands would break and, because they would
The
get
screws would
waterlogged and get
rust.
rusty. Yeah, you're rusty and I just had a good time, just good memories playing with GI Joes in the hot tub and no Eddie Murphy jokes. GI Joe got stuck under water.
Well, and now we know why we call it the hot tub for the
Yes.
yeah.
It's funny. So I asked my dad, I was like, do you have any pictures of me playing with GI Joes in the hot tub? He sent me one picture, and yeah, I could see Snake Eyes and Dusty, and there was Arana, and there was, yeah. So I was in the hot tub, I think with my cousin at the time who was visiting from New Jersey. And I'm glad that he had that picture because, and it's so funny when I told the story to my dad of like, hey, guess what? Like, we're calling this thing a hot tub, and this is why. He found that so like moving. It meant a lot to him.
Yeah. So, does the lore of a toy line kind of influence you wanting it?
That's a good question. I'm gonna say probably somewhat. I have to be interested in this, like this. You know what? I'm gonna say yes. I have to be interested in the story of what the figures represent. So, a good example of that is my Hot Toys obsession with some of the newer Star Wars media. I love the old Star Wars stuff. I'm in love with the new media that's coming out. And so kind of like I referenced earlier, I do like to, an expensive habit, but have something to represent that particular show. So I have it's off camera, but Mandalorian. I have the armor, Grogu, of course. I have a Book of Boba Fett. Um, oh, the Bad Batch animated series for Star Wars.
Hmm.
Hot toys for that. Black series for that. I was like, I gotta stop. So yes.
So when they change the lore, does that kind of diminish?
No, I'm not. I'm not a lore like purist. So
Okay.
um, you heard of the Black. I know. You know what? That's where I started, and some of these like hot toys are coming in, and I was like, why can't I be happy with just the Black Series version? Why do yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, the story for another
And the
time.
hot toys just they eat space too, so
Yeah, they eat space, they eat up your money. I try to get them on sale. I think that's the only time
I,
that
I
I
I
will.
don't know that they're a little less expensive than hot toys. I mean, you buy one or two hot toys a year, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
You
I
might have
guess
to buy
because
4 or 5 waves.
I'm looking at like 20 Black Series figures from Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian. Like, okay, Bad Batch. Yeah, they'll equal a hot toy. So, you know, my favorite thing to do is action figure math. It's funny because like that's how we justify the things that we do, right?
Yeah.
It's action figure math. Um, oh, that's funny, highly articulated. I only collect Black Series from the new shows. I don't go back and do the vintage stuff, except for Return of the Jedi is my exception. That was one movie that I saw with my dad, and I can actually remember. I was in the baby carrier when I was at the first Star Wars movie, so I have no clue what it was. I don't remember seeing Empire Strikes Back, but I do remember seeing Return of the Jedi. So I think the lore, to some extent, yes, but when the lore changes, it doesn't get me upset because I'm not such a lore purist that I'm like, you know, everybody can't know that He-Man is Prince Adam. Like,
Yeah.
if you've watched Masters of the Universe Revelation, they threw that down the toilet. If you watch actually, the She-Ra Princess of Power animated series, the
Yeah.
Filmation series, is probably my
The DreamWorks
favorite.
one? Yeah.
It's probably my favorite one. And then when they did the DreamWorks reboot, I love the story. It took me a little bit of time to get used to the character, but nobody has like a hidden identity anymore. Everybody
Yeah.
knows who everybody is. And so once you get past that, like the show is actually really good.
Yeah.
So I just like I like them producing more stuff. So I know that Masters of the Universe Revolution is splits people, right? Like it's you either love it or hate it.
Here here's the thing on all this is the way that I look at those kind of things. I enjoy the stuff. There's some stuff that I like more than others, but I realize that at the end of the day, it's not written just for me. I don't own that IP. I may in my head think I own it,
The head canon.
but I had to kind of unlearn that. We had this conversation. It was me, Brick, and Adam from Highly Articulated one time. We were having a discussion. It was on live. I can't remember whose live it was. We had a discussion about the sequel trilogy. Well, that's not my Star Wars because my Star Wars was A New Hope,
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. My daughter's Star Wars is Episode 1, Phantom Menace,
Mm-hmm.
Attack of the Clones. You see how that works. In this new generation, that's their Star Wars.
Yeah.
And even if we have all of this media and all these other things that we had in between, that doesn't mean that we own it. And I think we get to that point where we just think we own it and everything's bad because it's not what we want. But it's not about us.
Yeah, that's a great way that you broke that down, and it's a great way to think about it. Like I'm probably one of the few GI Joe fans that went and saw the the Snake Eyes movie. And I enjoyed it for what it was worth. Like it was,
It's a movie where they just shoehorned the GI Joe name on it,
yes. So
and
it
as
was,
long as you go into it watching it as a not GI Joe movie,
yeah,
it's an okay movie.
it was entertaining. Like it was an hour and a half to kill. I saw it by myself because I don't think I could get anyone to go with me to see that.
Yeah, no,
But that's funny.
it's a movie. We'll
Yeah,
leave it at that. It's a movie. But then
it's
again, that's kind of how it's been with GI Joe the whole time. And I think a
yeah,
lot of that is because they're trying to figure out how to soft pedal a military movie.
yeah. That's another one.
And
But like,
it's really, really hard to soft
riddle me
pedal it.
this. Did you see the Transformers Beast Wars, the latest one in the theater?
Yes,
Or-
yes, yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
The when they
Rise of the
introduced
Beast or
this,
something like
yeah,
that, or
yeah, 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 yeah.
um,
I
so
thought it was
yeah,
enjoyable. It wasn't
yeah, it
great,
was
but it was
great.
enjoyable.
The ending scene threw me a little bit because like that looks like no GI Joe that I've ever seen. It's just some old dude talking about GI Joe, and I was
Yeah,
like, wouldn't you, if you're the maker of this movie, wouldn't you want some like physical representation of like what GI Joe meant for probably the people, their demographic that's watching this
yeah,
movie, right? Because I was like, who is this? I'm old, but it's like, who's this old person in like a shirt and slacks, like talking to this transformer? I'm like, wait,
yeah. It's interesting that they how they chose to, but it does it makes it a little bit more palatable because now if you have them fighting, they're fighting robots and
ah,
that are trying to take over and that kind of thing. Then it kind of
yeah.
it takes a little bit of that. Oh, it's not a war movie. It's a
Yeah, I forget that there's all the like, yeah, all that other stuff plays
yeah
into it. But oh my gosh, the digital diarrhea. I love that username. I like that up until the gigantic snakes.
yeah yeah.
That's funny.
So any vintage line that you would like to see remade?
Mask. Hands down.
I knew the answer before I
Yeah.
asked, but you know what? I gotta ask.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Yeah.
what is it about a figure that makes you want to buy it? What draws you to a figure? So
So,
let's say for instance your glow in the dark friend that you just got.
oh geez.
So let's say that just in general, when you go
Okay.
to get a figure, what is it that makes you want to have it?
Mm, I think it has to relate back to something. Well, most of the time it relates back to like something from my childhood that I want to remember. So, I played with GI Joe's, He-Man. I actually never I saw I saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon. Like I wasn't somebody who would religiously watch it. I knew of them. Like my friend had a pizza party and played, one of the movies that came out. But yeah, so it's like what brought me to go into San Francisco and pick up a glow in the dark slash, right? Um, I think I think it's the way that they're designed now is part of it too. Like I can appreciate, I think the reason why I like Hot Toys and Mondo is because like the design of the figure, I can look past it as just a figure and just kind of look at it as like a piece of art or something, right? Just the
Oh, and
way
I
that
think
they're,
there's that interesting line now with especially with the size of the figures that we're getting and the way that they have done the tooling on a lot of stuff is and the paint apps that they're doing. Some of them are works of art. I
yeah.
mean, they're just articulated works of art that we get to play with now.
Yeah. So
So,
I think it's the way that they're designed, so that they have to be like visually appealing. They have to have some like design aesthetic to them. Yeah.
so is there any toys that you would like to see change companies and
Ooh,
design aesthetics?
interesting.
It's interesting that you brought up the word aesthetics because I was coming to that question next. So,
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
so what toy lines would you like to see a change of companies and design aesthetics?
Change of companies. Is this like a like Hasbro making Mattel kind of stuff, or like is that
Anything,
okay?
just
Oh,
anything that you would like to see somebody else take a shot at.
oh, got it, got it. Okay. Um, Interesting. I would like to see. hmm, I would actually so I guess going back to Mask, I would love to see like GI Joe classified series scale Mask figures. I think that would be super interesting. Um, to me, if they wanted to try that, that's totally fine. uh,
So, in
um,
thinking about your favorite toy lines, what are the worst of those toy lines?
the worst of my favorites.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, so what's at the bottom of the list? All right. Uh, I guess if I have to work backwards, it would be not that I don't like them. Like I think Transformers is always at the bottom of my list, but I still like them, even though I've bought and sold them, whatever 5 times over the last 20
Yeah.
years. I think because
You have an unhealthy love-hate relationship with
yes,
Transformers, is what you're saying.
yes, it's bad. I think because when I looked at them, I was like, these kind of look like the cartoon, but not. So I think they have to have some representation of what I was used to seeing on screen. But yeah, I would say the Transformers are probably my bottom of the tier, which is probably somebody's top tier.
And there's plenty of people out there that love Transformers. So Adam has an interesting question. If they remade Mask, how would you like them to do it? Would you want repro, update, OG scale, 118, 112? Would you need the vehicles?
Yes. Adam, I think we have we somehow have a like mind of I was looking at his comment earlier of around like he's collecting new media and Return of the Jedi, which is like exactly what I'm doing. It's weird to have somebody else do that, and I think it's cool. Um, I think I love what the Star Wars line has done with retro their updated vintage collection and their Black Series. And yes, it would definitely need the vehicles because that it basically Mask was a vehicle line. Like you could buy the action figure packs, but they were kind of few and far between. If you needed the main characters, you would have to you'd have to buy the buy the vehicles. So I think and also GI Joe for that matter too was a vehicle line. A lot of cool
Yeah.
vehicles. So I would love them to do Mask the way that they're doing the Star Wars collections right now, a retro, so we can get
Yeah.
the ones that made us think of that property, that we watched on TV and had as a kid. The more updated sculpts. So GI Joe, their 25th anniversary line had a matte tracker.
Yeah.
And when I saw
Yeah.
that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're gonna!" I flipped my lid. I was like, "They're gonna make Mask," and like, no Mask came.
No Mask. Yeah.
So yeah, I would love all three. Probably the 1/6 scale, probably not because the outfits are too plain for me for that scale.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like Matt, you basically have a matte tracker. He's pretty much gray with some red splashes of paint.
Yeah. But honestly, without the vehicles, it's not Mask.
Yeah,
That was kind of the
that's
whole
true.
thing.
Yeah.
Mask was that kind of unique property that you kind of have to have both.
Yeah, Exo Squad. I don't think I've ever seen. I'm not familiar with the Exo Squad.
Oh, you need to look it up. They're
Uh oh!
basically mechs.
Don't don't tell me to look it up. Be like, Aaron,
Do you like mechs, Michael?
guess what?
If you like mechs, you'll like Exo Squad because it's a fantastic 90s. And the cartoon, it's on
Is it good?
Tubi, I think.
Okay.
But the cartoon, it's deeper as a cartoon goes than most kids' cartoons because you're talking about a slave race that rises up.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm always looking to like watch new things. I'm trying to figure out like I need to catch up on the old like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff because I just want to know the backstory and since they're doing all these crossover figures, I kind of have to know where they're coming from.
Who's going what and doing where?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
But they're fun. They're fun.
So
Once we got past the PTSD of getting a cease and desist from Mattel, I actually really liked the line. So anyway,
there was a lot of people that got a cease and desist from involving the Turtles properties.
yeah, that's true.
I don't know why they protect it because they give a damn license to everybody.
Mhm.
Everybody and their brother. You want a Turtles license? You get a license. You get a license, and you get a license. Everybody's getting a license.
I love it.
Oh, goodness. So, in thinking about your collection, are there any buyer's regrets, any remorse?
Yeah.
Something that you're like, yeah, I wish I hadn't done that.
Yeah. So yeah, because my desk is such a disaster, if Ken is still watching, he probably cringe that like um it's these guys. It's the Tiger Force Euro exclusives.
Mhm.
So um these are a pretty penny nowadays. I think they were $50 a piece back in the early 2000s, which was still I mean that was expensive back then, right?
Yeah.
If you gotta look at it adjusted for inflation, like that's
Oh no,
probably
that would be
it's a lot.
$100 now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. So my regrets mostly fall in the GI Joe 3 3/4 inch line. Um, so yeah, I don't know why I do this, but I was like, I need I wanted all the Night Force figures because they look cool. But then a year
Yeah.
later or 2 years later, I was like, okay, the coolness is worn off. Maybe I want something else, and so I sell them. And then there goes the cyclical thing of
Yeah.
me buying and selling them. The Terrordrome was one of them. I had a nice looking set, maybe in the maybe like 2006, 2007. And instead of like packing it away because I didn't have any space, I sold it and I was like, darn. So I actually just rebought one, which
Yeah, no, man. You don't have to tell me. And
yeah.
ridiculous.
Anyway. And don't ask me why because I still don't know where I'm gonna put it. So it's for some reason I needed
It's
that.
that impulse to
Yeah,
get it all, right?
yeah, yes, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think I would also say that even though the Transformers are at the bottom of the list, I still would have liked to have kept some of my early G1 figures that I'd bought on eBay for like $3 a piece, complete and
Yeah,
like in
exactly.
very good condition. So yeah, lots of regrets, but mostly it's all good times. But yeah.
So, one of the things that we do generally in life in and of itself is that we get to this burnout point. Have you ever gotten to a burnout point with your collection?
Yeah, and I think that's the point of yeah, I have a good example. So back in what 2020, 2021, there wasn't a ton of things that were interesting for me to collect. Like the Origins line was starting up in 2019. I was watching the Transformers War for Cybertron series, and I was like, the War for Cybertron toys were actually really cool because they reminded me of the vintage figures, just with
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
cooler articulation. They were bigger. Of course, they were, all they weren't die cast, but they were plastic. But
Yeah.
yeah, so Yeah, I think I had amassed this huge collection of Warp Cybertron Transformers. But then I was like, okay, like the scales of the figures they're a lot bigger than the G1 figures. And so I was like, all right, if I'm gonna have a Devastator, I can't have the, whatever 10-inch one that
Yeah,
from the vintage line. I can't have that attacking these War for Cybertron figures. So I'm like, okay, well, they make the whatever the 2-foot ones now. The
yeah, exactly.
Minor Wars and so I started
Yeah.
collecting those. So I got I got a Fortress Maximus, I got Devastator. So and then like after I got burnt out on them because it was kind of it was a short-lived string of collecting because I needed something to fill my time. And I think that's what they were good in that sense where it gave me something to do and something to enjoy, but longevity wise, I wasn't going to keep them.
So one of the things that back when I was doing expressive therapy with people is I would do what's called the magic question. And for collecting, it's a little bit different than what the magic question is for a psychiatric patient. So, a psychiatric patient, I would ask and say, if all of your problems went away today, what would you do and why?
Mm.
So, the collector's version of that is we have two things that are our biggest barriers for us as collectors. So, if space and money
Mm.
weren't an issue,
Okay.
what would you collect?
Interesting. Exotic cars. No. I'm joking.
If you want to, you can collect the exotic cards,
I would,
whatever you want to collect.
yeah. The space thing is interesting because like I've never owned a GI Joe USS Flag, right? And so I would want one of those. I'm into I don't know. I think I'm going into a phase of like I don't want to just put the figures on a shelf because that's boring to me. I think part of the reason why I rebought the Terrordrome is because I actually want to put out my 3 3/4 inch figures and just have something for them to do besides just stand in a row.
Stand there in aisles and straight, and everybody's looking the same. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's like, yes, I'm doing that to some extent, back here. But yeah, I think I like the world building and it's like things that you do of like diorama and customization, like you already are kind of doing that and like
Yeah.
I want that. I want to do that.
It's not as complicated as it seems, I promise.
Okay, I'll take your word for
So,
it.
do you ever have a desire to cut down your toy interests and, the less the less is more theory?
Uh no, I've tried that once and
You
it doesn't work for me. I know
tried that
my
for 5 minutes and it was the worst
I
5
know,
minutes
yeah.
of your life?
Yep. Yeah, I don't I think it goes against like I'm not hardwired that way. Like it goes against something in my head. Like it gives me an icky feeling if I say like, "Oh, I have to give up certain things." That's okay. Like one or two, yes, but the whole thing or like kind of scale back, that'd be a very, very hard decision to make. It's like, because
So,
who would make the cut, right?
yeah, who do you remove, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like your kids, which kid do you wanna get rid of?
Oh, jeez.
Is there any time that you see yourself not collecting? What would that look like for you?
I don't think there's ever been a point in my life that I can remember when I was not collecting something. Um, at the playground, I don't know why, I started collecting bottle caps. They were all beer bottle caps, by the way. I didn't know that, and
Yeah.
I would just collect them in like the tin can coffee jar that my parents would throw out.
Well,
And
in Fallout, you'd be rich.
yeah. And
Just
so it's
saying.
funny. I have this distinct memory of opening that can and just having this like beer smell waft out at me, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I think I was like 7 or something, and I was collecting bottle caps. Bottle caps turned to baseball cards turned into like Garbage Pail Kids, and so on. So I don't think there ever be a time where I don't
Goodness.
do this because I think I enjoy it so much. I think it's just ingrained in my DNA to do
Yeah.
this. Um,
It's part of who you are, right?
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of why you do why you have your own website that does news and reviews and all the other stuff, right? It's part of who you are now.
Yeah, it's funny because when I wasn't doing that stuff, I was still doing that stuff, but not making it known that I was doing that stuff. So I would still
Yeah,
spend hours online looking for stuff. Like, where's the hidden something that I could find? And I think that's where the website grew out of. Um, I think the toy community I really love. One aspect of just my personality in general is I'm a people pleaser and I like to help people. And so the website is a place where I can fulfill that inner need
hmm
of wanting to be helpful, and because it seems like people get excited about that stuff, and so it makes me happy inside when other people are happy, and I can't really explain it too because I sign myself up for more work. Like
yeah,
somebody drops a comment in the channel like, "Oh, I missed out on such and such." I'm like, "Well, I have one here that I could ship you, and we'll just, I don't want to upcharge you. Just pay what I paid." There's people that I buy for that live in foreign countries that don't get the figures that we have an
yeah,
opportunity to buy, and that breaks my heart. And so I just actually shipped out a 15-pound box of toys to the Netherlands, that I've been collecting over like the last 6 months for this person. And it made me so excited when the box finally got there and like they'd
yeah.
open it and they get to enjoy the stuff. So,
Well, I think that's what's kind of unique about generally the toy community for the most part is that
yeah,
we kind of do those things for each other.
yeah.
It's kind of like the thing you got to see what we did when we started with Kayla's thing.
Yes. Oh
Uh,
my gosh. That was amazing. I was
that's
like,
but that's what we do. It's just sometimes, but we're doing one right now. It doesn't have anything to do with toys.
right.
Sometimes it's just about life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in doing that, it brings me joy to help others. It kind of allows me to, for lack of a better word, I wasn't always the best person, but it does allow me to be a better person and a
Mm,
better than person than I was yesterday,
I like
a
that.
better person tomorrow than I will be today. So one of the things that I do every day, I try to find joy even regardless of how bad a day is. One of the things that I learned with my son is it may be a horrible, awful, terrible, no good, very bad day, but I have to find something positive in it. And it's not to the point of being toxic positivity. It's just I want to find something that had some because it wasn't all bad. It's never all bad.
Yeah.
Never all good. It's never all bad. There's always nuance.
Yeah.
So the final question I have is the most important question.
Uh-oh.
What did you find joy in today?
Oh. Um, let's see. There were a couple things. It's funny. I'm reading Happy Accidents username. Um, I I rarely go into the office. So I work from home. Like I came like after lockdown, companies are giving you the choice to work from home or come into the office or be hybrid. So I chose to work from home. So I rarely get to see anyone that I work with in person. And so um I was in a meeting today in a conference room by myself. And I noticed one of my coworkers that I have never met in person. I was like, she looks like she's in a conference room. and it's probably here because she lives around San Francisco. And so I shoot her a message on Slack, and she was like, I'm like, are you in the office today? She's like, yes. And I'm like, oh my God, yes. So like we like talked like person to person for like a half an hour, just about random stuff. It wasn't work related. Um, that's something that I miss, is that personal interaction. Like the plastic people behind me don't really fill that particular
No,
need of
yeah,
just that human connection.
yeah.
So that was one thing that I found joy in. Another thing was just going to the Super 7 store and just geeking out and buying way too many things that I shouldn't have. It's funny. So because I found glow in the dark Slash there, I was like, do you have the Wave 3 GI Joes in stock? He's like, yep. So I canceled my Entertainment Earth order, and I just caught them from the store because I was like, okay, I could just have them now. But the Toy Sorceress reminded me, like, if you wait a year, they'll be like $10. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So today was interesting. It was also a day. Once a month, LinkedIn has a day called In Day, and it's basically a day where you can go do community service or just like not think about work. And so today was an In Day. I unfortunately had to do some work today, but I made it. I fulfilled it in other ways. Just yeah, meeting up with my coworker just by accident and by chance, just us being in the office together and making a trip to uh, Super 7, which my wallet wasn't thankful for, but made me happy.
You got to find the things that make you happy.
That's
At the end
true.
of the day, that's everything that we do. Um, we got to do it. You got to
Yeah.
make change. Got to make that joy a day.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So let me see. Let me go here. See if there's any other questions. And there's not. All
I
right.
like Bud's comment. I make it a toy habit. See what I did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least it wasn't bad puns. It was low hanging fruit, but not
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a bad pun.
Yeah.
But
Mine's an easy one.
I appreciate you coming on.
Oh my
And
gosh.
with
Thank
that,
you
everybody,
so
I'm
much for
going
having
to hopefully everyone has a good evening and a good weekend. You will see me on Oz's stream tomorrow night, at least for a little while. We'll
the
see how
hangout.
well my cough comes up. We do a little
Uh,
clubhouse get together. And Michael, what do you got going on?
this weekend. Yeah, I think we're we're in the middle of a kitchen remodel that's just lasting way too long. And so um I think so. We have a bunch of stuff in the garage. I need to move a bunch of stuff out of the third car garage because the guy who's going to be doing the third car garage needs to like scope the space out and actually plan and stuff. So I think I'm going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting of moving around stuff this weekend, which is not fun, but when the end comes, it will be fun um, because we were doing the kitchen remodel, I had to move out of this space, and I was in my son's room. And sometimes I'd pop on to Oz's Hangout because it was a quiet space. I wasn't bugging anybody. Like, my wife's in the other room. Basically, this space is off of our bedroom, and so I don't want to bother her, with doing this kind of stuff. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I think it's gonna be interesting, and I would love to like pop on to more stuff spontaneously because of that kind of quiet space that I'll have like isolated. I'll be like,
There you go.
I can giggle, I can cackle, I can do whatever I want.
It's time for yourself. That's what you call
Yes,
it.
exactly.
Me time.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't, yeah,
Anything
I
big
mean, as
going
far
up
as
on Toy Habits this weekend?
oh, so yes, Toy Habits. I did do a photo shoot with Mr. Mutated Ram Man. Just I think he's just the coolest figure from that particular wave, and so I also put together a video. So I think so. Your playing question was interesting because I did a lot of playing with this guy, just making. It wasn't a video for YouTube, but um, I made a video of Ram Man morphing into mutated
Yeah.
Ram Man. So anyway, so that will probably go up sometime this weekend, and yeah, the news finds us any and all hours of the day, and so who knows what's going to come next. I'm
Yeah, I
actually
mean,
surprised that we haven't seen the Masterverse King Keldor figure yet, and it's like 6 days before Revolution. I'm like, I've been looking my darndest to try and find anything about it, but they're keeping
maybe
that one.
they're just holding on to it,
Yeah, that's true. Um,
trying to get that
but yeah,
synergy to release it right when that opens. Maybe, who
yes,
knows?
yes, yes.
But with that, I want to say I appreciate everyone tuning in. And those of you that are checking this out on replay, thank you for spending your time with me. And with that, I will say, if you can be anything, be kind.